Hi, I'm Elena.
And I'm Taylor.
And this is
Lights, Camera, Acting. Today's episode, How the Grinch Stole Music.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical. All right.
I'm not going to lie, this musical was really bad.
It really was. It was a live musical on NBC, and it's just overall wasn't...
It wasn't good.
It wasn't...
It was more for kids.
Especially, yeah, definitely. And if you're a big fan of the movie, and I know a lot of people are...
If you like Hallmark, then you would like this, because Hallmark is very cheesy, just like this one.
Yeah. But if you're a big fan of the movie, the musical definitely did not live up to it.
It was forced.
Yeah, it was
very, very forced.
Yes, almost every line was rhyming, and it was just like too much. It felt like, trying to get lines to fit together that didn't really work just to rhyme, And then
the cast was okay.
Yeah, I think they were very talented, and you could tell that the costumes were really cool, I thought. I
I liked the
they fit.
I didn't like the costumes because they were all like it just didn't.
They were all in pink, which was
they're all in pink and purple, and it just wasn't it just wasn't. I don't know. It was too much of a musical, to be honest.
Yeah, and there were some things that were confused. Do you remember when they took out the yoga balls or something?
Yeah.
There was one song they were like bouncing on yoga balls, and it just didn't work. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about the lead, Matthew Morrison.
A lot of people are saying that he sexualized the role.
Yeah,
a lot.
In some ways, I could see that. Do you know that part where he would grab his hair?
Yeah,
his weird hair tuft thing. That was it was a little odd. It made me a little uncomfortable.
I've been seeing a lot of it on TikTok, and I actually saw one article pop up when I was just scrolling through stuff, and I saw how Matthew Morrison sexualized the Grinch, and I was like,
yeah,
what?
It was a little. But I could definitely see that criticism. Also, having two people play the dog, I liked it. I did like that. It was interesting that the dog was sort of telling the story.
I liked it.
I did like that part of it.
I liked. I think the old Max, the old Max was the narrator, and I actually liked him a lot.
Yeah, he was definitely my favorite.
He was my favorite too. I liked him.
He was a big redeeming quality of the whole thing, I'd say. But
he kind of brought it together. I actually enjoyed watching him sing.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I don't know. I kind of liked the cast. The cast was okay. One of them, young Max, was played by a Disney star.
Yeah, from Descendants.
I don't know. The acting, I can't blame the actors because it's all cheesy. The entire cast and the show was just cheesy, so exactly. I can't really blame the actors for it, so I don't really know how to go off of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's meant to be cheesy, so that's why it's it makes sense, but it was also, it felt a bit much. I think kids who are very, pretty young would have liked it, but as older kids who love the Grinch movie, watching it felt off.
Yeah. I feel I can definitely tell that they created it for a kid audience, but the way they promoted it didn't seem like it was for kids. They tried and promoted it as a family as a family
whole family thing.
Yeah, a whole family kind of thing, but I guess the audience they were going for was more towards younger children, which I don't know. I was really annoyed because I was hoping it was going to be good.
Yeah.
Because NBC always puts on good musicals.
I think another problem with it is because of COVID, they can't have an audience, where usually these live musicals have an audience.
Yeah.
So you get the audience's reaction. You hear the clapping, you hear the laughter. Where this, if something fell flat, it really did, because you didn't have anyone there to react. So you weren't you didn't want to react with an audience because there was no one there. So I think that makes things awkward for musical theater.
I think that's another thing that made it just, I'm going to flat out say it wasn't good.
Yeah, it really wasn't.
I think that's just the whole thing behind it, is the fact that we couldn't really judge off of it because we were just cringing the entire time.
Yeah.
At Matthew Morrison.
Literally.
And another thing is, Matthew Morrison is a talented person. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know. Maybe he just hasn't landed, good roles. Because he had a role in Glee and he landed a role in Glee, and his acting was good, but
the character weird.
A lot of people hated the character because he took his character as a teacher, and some of the lines that Ryan Murphy gave him were just really weird, I guess, because he was hating on a girl for like being herself when it was like the lesson in Glee Club. And there was another thing where I guess he was just very sexual to the students, and like reality it would be really inappropriate if a teacher did that. So I guess like maybe like his reputation is just like speaking for itself, but he is talented.
I was surprised they casted him as the Grinch, and I think part of it was for publicity because like Glee has been coming back recently and people are more obsessed with Glee. So it's like, but also it's funny because at least with like Gen Z stuff that people like post on social media about like Matthew Morrison
are just not good.
It's all like making fun of the character and being like, why was Mr. Schuster so like creepy? Like
me and you have both gotten Schustered.
Yes.
There's a trend called getting Schustered where it would just be an awkward clip of him dancing or like just doing something weird.
Yeah. And every time you scroll onto one, it's called like getting Schustered, and it's just, it has to do with Matthew Morrison. So I think us knowing him as that, and like a lot of kids like our age knowing him as that, seeing him in the Grinch. I'm not gonna lie,
seeing everything on TikTok, I think most of the views were people who have bashed on Matthew Morrison.
Probably. Who wanted
just to bash on him more.
Or like a lot of my friends who do musical theater too, like all watched it. And it's just funny. Like everyone's talked about it and said like it's not.
Because I remember you were like snapping people, getting like other people's reactions.
And they're like, what is that? I know. I was sending videos of it while we were watching it to people. And they were like, what the heck is that? Or like some of my friends who do theater too had said they saw it. And it was just all around a little weird.
And then that joke, I just thought of the joke that we made of the mother, the soprano. The soprano.
The mother had this voice. Oh my God. She just had this very like high soprano voice, and it's just like
doing the most.
It makes sense for the character, but it's just so like pingy in your ear, and like I just know that type of person in theater.
And then we were like, and then the song like "Where Are You Christmas?" And then you were like, if she does it, I'm gonna flip. And then she does it. She's like, and then she did it.
It's
yes,
like,
no.
I know. Usually the little that's the thing too. They had the songs were sung by like different characters from the movie, so it just felt wrong. You know, like they had the mom, and who else sang "Where Are You Christmas"? The mayor?
Everyone did.
Yeah, it was just weird. Usually it's the little girl.
The cast of like the Whovilles or like something like that. But usually in the movie it was Cindy Lou who sang it by herself. But then they have like the mother starting out as it, and then the whole cast like kind of came in, obviously besides the Grinch, but they have all the Who singing it.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the new songs too. When I was looking stuff up, because I wrote an article for journalism on it. When I was looking stuff up, one of the songs was "It's the Thought That Counts." Mm-hmm. That's what it was called. And a lot of people criticized that because they were like, that sort of defeats the purpose, because like it said like with gift giving, it's the thought that counts, where the whole message of the Grinch is that like you don't need gifts. It's sort of being there for each other and like love and like celebrating Christmas without gifts. That's sort of the message of it. But then when they have a song called "It's the Thought That Counts" about gift giving, it sort of like goes against that whole message, Well,
I mean, something like that happened in the movie too, like in the beginning before Cindy Lou meets the Grinch.
True.
Her and her father are going gift shopping.
Yeah.
But then they bring it all back. They bring that message back together in the end, where the Grinch steals all the presents, and then what happened? They go gift shopping, and then the Grinch steals the Christmas gifts, and then he ends up giving them all back, but then they're like, we don't need that because it's Christmas and we just need each other, and that like cheesy kind of like message. But I do that's actually kind of interesting. I do get that part where like they thought that like it just I saw some reviews saying that. I understand it. Did you find anything else when you
the storyline, everyone knows the storyline, like most people do.
It didn't make sense to me.
In the musical, it felt a little rushed through. Like there was some they left some parts of the plot unexplained. So if you were to watch it for the first time, not knowing the full story, you could have been a little lost. You know what I mean? Like, it felt like they were just taking it and then trying to add a bunch of songs to it, and you could have gotten, like, lost with what the actual story was, because...
I didn't understand it, because they would go to Christmas shopping, and then all of a sudden, like, I was more confused of the timeline.
Yeah,
They didn't
weird.
make the timeline clear, because they were all of a sudden shopping for gifts. The Grinch comes in.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually my favorite scene, though.
When he came in dressed with the glasses.
When he came in dressed with the glasses and the cowboy hat.
He had funny glasses.
That was my favorite. That was my favorite scene.
He had this, like, Dallas accent. And it was
in
so...
disguise.
But, like, that... It was so weird. But it was funny, but it was, like, kind of out of place.
Yeah, that just didn't...
But it was funny. I guess, like... That does make it memorable as much as it was kind of odd.
I guess, but I mean, like, it was my favorite scene, but at the same time, I don't know, the entire show was just ridiculous. And so, what was I talking about before?
The timeline of it.
Oh yeah, the timeline just didn't make sense, because they were Christmas shopping, and then they did the Thought That Counts. They did that whole number, and then the Grinch comes in, and then the Grinch leaves. And then all of a sudden they go back to, like, the Grinch, like, in his cave. Mm-hmm. But then, like, after they see the Grinch in the cave, I couldn't tell. There was, like, this one scene where they were, like, making food. But, like, I couldn't tell if it was, like, Christmas Eve or if it was, like...
Yeah.
You know, like, they didn't really talk about, like, the timeline of things. Like, in the movie or, like, the actual, like, original cartoon. Like, you could tell, like, what the timeline was, because everything was taking place, like, on Christmas Eve. Like, you were going through the whole day of Christmas Eve. And then, like, they were showing, like, them cooking the food and, like, them, like, doing last minute, like, Christmas lights or, like, Christmas shopping and, like, you know?
It felt like trying to flip between, like, his scenes and then the people. Like,
it was just confusing. It was
like,
a lot more confusing.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, really, really confusing. I didn't really like it. And then the whole, like, part at the end about, like, the horse. I just didn't see the significance of it in the store when Cindy Lou was looking at the big red horse.
That's the thing too.
That was just random.
They added in,
like, random stuff.
They added that Cindy wanted this, like, red rocking horse really bad,
and then they didn't talk about it again until the end of the movie.
Until the end, and then all of a sudden she got the red rocking horse, but that's not really in the movie. That's not really in, like, the original story at all.
It made no sense.
Weird.
It made no sense. Like, when they did that, I feel like everyone liked the movie because Jim Carrey played the Grinch, and he was so popular, and everybody loved him because he was funny, and he took the role, like...
That's the thing, too. If you're used to Jim Carrey's version of it, the way Matthew portrays it is a lot different, and it feels kind of weird. Like, it's sort of off, you know? Like, if you're used to, like, that like, voice that, you know, that he puts on for the movie,
he made it funny, too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they took a comedian, they put him as the Grinch, and he did it really well, and everybody thought it was, like, actually funny the way he portrayed the Grinch. And
whereas taking a performer and making them the Grinch,
taking, like, a performer, doing the musical, and then, like, adding, like, something in to try and make it funny, like the rhyming, but then everybody, like... It was just overplayed. Like, a lot of it was just overplayed, and it kind of got boring listening to the rhyming.
I remember right in the beginning, I read something on this too. He, like, breaks the fourth wall by, like, looking into the camera, and he's like, "You're all at home on your couches," or whatever. But it was just, like, it didn't, like, click, like, it didn't work. Like, that kind of thing is, like, cheesy, like, ha, look at you, like, sitting on your couch being lazy. But it was, like, it was awkward, you know? Like, it wasn't... It wasn't, like, a funny or cute thing. It was, like, there were a lot of things like that, like, were supposed to be funny or cute. And maybe to a kid it would work, like, a younger